Welcome to Surprise Radio. I have a very special guest with me today. If you don't mind, though, would you please introduce yourselves?
Hey, what's up? I'm Ryan.
Alyssa.
John,
And
And
you
we are
are?
the
the
Binding
Binding
Divide.
Divide.
Hell yeah, you did it in unison. That's what I'm talking about.
Making music with this guy for a long time, so yeah,
Yeah, we're in sync.
we're
We're
in
in
sync.
sync.
I thought you said you were the Binding Divide. I'm confused. Oh,
Fair
okay.
enough. Fair enough.
And where are you based out of?
Orlando, Florida.
And do you have a meaning for the name, the Binding Divide?
I'm gonna let Alyssa take that one.
So as far as the strict meaning goes, we didn't fully tie something to it. We like the dichotomy that it created, but we wanted it to mean something different for everyone. But just to kind of encompass a general idea, it stuck with us because we felt like it kind of rings true for how things are today with how social media was supposed to bring people together, but more so than ever, it's dividing people with opinions. And it's kind of how society is today. That some of the things that bring us together are also the things that tear us apart. So that's kind of a general idea of why it sat with us, but we didn't want to say this is exactly what it means. So when people hear it, they can kind of decide. But as far as choosing it, it was kind of some words that got put together while we were all throwing names out. I don't know how many names we went through.
A million.
Yeah, but that one kind of just stuck after it was said, and even without making a decision, like this is what we'll call it, we kept referring to the band as the Binding Divide, and then eventually Ryan was like, "All right, are we gonna pull the trigger on this thing?" And we made it official.
Yeah, I mean, we had, like she said, we had a laundry list of notes and band names, and when you're naming a band, it's tough because if you call it one thing, it kind of leans people into one direction as far as a genre. And the other thing too is when you want a band name, the first thing I do is I go on Spotify and I type it in and go, okay, how many bands are named that? And with the Binding the Divide, I don't. When I typed it in, there was nothing that came up that was close. We could also abbreviate it, TBD and stuff like that. So it kind of it had a nice flow to it. It had a nice ring, and
We all agreed on it.
yeah,
Which was the most
we agreed on it.
important
The most important thing. So
Yeah, that's always important in a band, which is basically a mini democracy.
oh yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Because you can come up with ideas for names that you're like, yes, I'm stoked on this one, and you bring it to everybody, and they're just like, nah, I'm not really feeling that, and it's deflating, but at the same time, it really challenges you creatively
yeah.
because it's a game. It's almost like a game. You got to figure out something that everybody's gonna like, and thankfully, thanks to Alyssa and that idea, we were able to all agree that hey, this is what we want to call the band, and boom, there it is.
Now, I know that you released your first single in March of this year. How long have you actually been together, though?
June of last year.
So I want to say probably like March or April, maybe, or May of last.
May or June of last year.
Yeah, somewhere around that. We took some time to kind of, write, be together, jam, cultivate kind of, a chemistry of what the sound was going to be, kind of how we wanted to proceed, and also take the time to just build, a world that we can kind of, when we turn on the lights, have some content and stuff ready to be put out, as opposed to like, hey guys, we're here and pay attention to us now all of a sudden. So, we weren't in any rush, and it was about, well, if it was then, yeah, we went in the studio in September, recorded Finding Forever and Satisfied of last year, and then we went back in the studio February of this year to record another single, and then we're gonna go back in the studio very soon.
Tell me about your favorite singer or band.
Yeah, I'll let John go first.
Oh, so my favorite band is Tool, and one of my favorite singers is Maynard James Keenan. I've seen them about 8 times now, and yeah, I've always loved their music, and I would say probably around 2003 when the album Lateralis came out is when I really started getting just really just diving in and just fully immersing myself in their music and whatnot. Not that I hadn't listened to Enema and Undertow before, and even Opiate, but I wasn't like fully engulfed in it and immersed in their music and whatnot. And so his singing style, the way he writes his lyrics, and they're all very meaningful. They can be interpreted. A lot of them, I think, are super positive and talk about personal growth and development as a human being and an individual. And I really dig that because it gives you a positive outlook on life. You know, even if you're going through something bad or whatever, you can throw on a song and it'll just kind of expand your mind and help you, you know, think about situations and how you could have done better, or just help make you feel better in general about life and yourself. So that's why I like Tool a lot.
There you go. My personal, I have two favorite singers, which not necessarily my favorite bands, but Brandon Boyd from Incubus and Jeff Buckley are two of my favorite singers of all time. Both their voices just, you know, phenomenal, unique in its own. They also write great songs too. But yeah, my favorite band at the moment, I don't know, that kind of fluctuates, you know, it'll just be like what I'm paying attention to lately, which for me has been The Plot and You is my favorite band right now as far as what I'm listening to. So that's my answer.
Nice. I'm gonna kind of go along with that vein too, because I guess I feel like my favorites always fluctuate, but right now I've been listening to a lot of Ginger, and Tati just has such an amazing voice. She goes from singing so like soft and has amazing dynamic, and she sings higher than I can sing, but then has this crazy, you know, scream that she does in all of her songs that make you question if it's her, but it is. So I absolutely love her singing, the cleans and harsh vocals, and then their music is amazing. You have to really listen to the lyrics because they have very, very poetic songs, and you have to kind of get into the deeper meaning of what she's saying. So I would go with that. And then just, I guess, favorite singer of all time has nothing to do with rock music. I've loved them since I was very, very little. It's Josh Groban. I just gotta plug that guy. Amazing voice.
The Office star Josh Groban in the house.
Yeah.
So tell me about something. Tell me something about you that we don't know.
I was a corporal in the United States Marine Corps, and I worked in the Pentagon for 2 years.
That's really cool. And no, we
Yeah.
did not know that.
So yeah, I achieved the rank of corporal and served for 4.5 years during peacetime, got out and moved home and bought a base, and the rest is history.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So for me, well, I guess maybe, well, no, because I was about to say I can juggle, but that's in the music video. So people probably already know that. Probably what most people don't know about me is my first job ever. I worked for the Miami Dolphins on the equipment staff and as a ball boy. So I was one of those kids who had the X shirts on the sidelines throwing balls. And so I did that when I was like 14. That was my first job ever. And I was so overwhelmed because at that age, I was not ready to work with professional athletes who were hazing and you know, and plus I had just graduated 8th grade and I did not want to work. I was like, no, I'm going into high school. Like, this is rad. And then all of a sudden I'm working like 16-hour days. So, but it gave me a good work ethic and I got to meet a lot of cool people and do a lot of fun things. So
I guess I was a theater kid, like a thespian. That's what they call it officially. So I was all in that stuff when I was younger, a little theater nerd. Oh, this might be more interesting. I played Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't think people would assume that I would do that, but I did, and still sometimes do.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I love Dungeons and Dragons. I just don't think people would assume that.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of famous people that play D&D. So I played in middle school.
There is actually a lot of famous people, and it's growing more and more in popularity with the Critical Role and their TV shows that they have out and stuff. So tell me about some of your influences and heroes. I know that we talked about your favorite bands, but I'm talking more like an influence, somebody that you maybe modeled yourself after. It could be musical or it could even be outside of music.
yeah, for me, growing up, like I was a huge Johnny Depp and like Tim Burton fan. So all of their movies and their combos and just anything that Johnny Depp would ever, you know, kind of be in, I was always just, I looked up to him kind of growing up. And as I got older, I got into Hunter S. Thompson a lot of his writing. So just kind of his gonzo journalism and his mindset on politics and just different things. So those two people I think have kind of shaped who I became as an adult, as you know, as well as other musicians and my family and other people that were around me. But I always loved Johnny Depp and Hunter S. Thompson. So those are two people. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Hans Zimmer, and then I'll kind of explain. I love movies. I've grown up watching movies. Everyone does, but I love movies. I love film scores in particular. I've always been really drawn to them. I listen to them every single day. Hans Zimmer is obviously my favorite. I'm talking about him, but it's kind of influenced how I look at songwriting, because when you listen to a film score, you get an emotional connection to the song, whether you've seen, or to the piece, whether you have seen the film already or you haven't. Like for me, for example, I listened to the film score for Gladiator before I saw the film. So then watching the movie and hearing the themes throughout it, having already known that and not actually known the story yet, it was very interesting. But I try to tie that into my songwriting because I like to sometimes draw from personal experience, but other times I like to create a story based on what the music itself is telling me. And a lot of times the way our songwriting goes is Ryan or Chris will write something, send it to me or to us, and I get to listen to it and kind of, create a little world in my mind of what is this story telling me, or what part of the story is this song in. So I kind of get inspired by Hans Zimmer and film scores through that, but everything he does is amazing and creates a beautiful story. But influences as far as right now with what I'm doing, I'm going to go back to Ginger because they were the ones that well, Tati specifically was the one where I saw her and I was like, dang, I want to be in a band. She's so cool. And then prior to that, it would be Trivium because I feel both of them, although their sound is very different, there's certain elements that are kind of similar and very heavy in the melody. That's what I really liked with their music being very heavy, but still having a beautiful, strong melody throughout. So, yeah.
Personally, my biggest influence was my grandfather. I grew up in a single parent home with my mom. So my grandparents helped raise me when I was a kid. And then we moved to Florida. I moved to Florida with my mom and I kind of moved away from them, but I would go back every year for Christmas break, Easter break, and summer break and spend it with them. And just like my grandfather was the only real positive male role model I had in my life. And he was really smart. He was super funny and just very well-rounded as an individual. Played a lot of sports. When he was younger, he was in the Army, served in World War II. Didn't see any action, thankfully. So, but his birthday is tomorrow. He would have been, if he was still alive, he'd be 104. So, but I miss him. He was awesome. And I just try to, a lot of the things that he taught me in life are the way I try to be. Like him and my grandmother always tried to they taught me to be a good person, to always help people and whatnot. And when it comes to music, my influences for bass playing aren't necessarily linked to one specific player, because I like so many. I kind of just, because I'm just a finger play. I just play finger style, and I don't slap and pop or anything. There are bass players that I like that do both. Primarily, if I was to say somebody who I model a little bit after, it would be Tim Comerford from Rage Against the Machine. That's just the very bluesy riffs that he writes. Not so much the slapping parts, but the groovy bluesy stuff that Rage does is kind of where I'm at. And then ultimately, though, I just try to be myself on the bass and just play from here and what I feel. I just feel the instrument's an extension of my emotions, and anything I play, you may not know it, but I know it when I'm playing it. That's how I feel when I'm writing a riff or whatever. So I would say that it doesn't mean that there aren't other bass players that have influenced me over time. There are, but like Tim Comerford is the one that I always go back to. I loved Cliff Burton back in the day. Cliff was amazing, but he's not really a traditional bass player in terms of how he approaches writing, because he would like literally play the guitar solos on bass. How amazing he was. The Anesthesia Pulling Teeth solo is almost a guitar solo. It's just he's doing it on bass with some effects. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are my two main influences in life.
I do love Cliff Burton. There was certain parts of Orion that, as many times as I've heard the song and as much as I loved it, I've been fairly recently that I'm like, oh shit, that is bass. And I even
Yeah,
learned how to play it on the bass, and I guess I just didn't learn that part or something because it was too hard. And now I see why, because he's just incredible.
yeah. That Call of Cthulhu as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's another one where he's doing stuff on bass where you're like, oh, that's bass. That's not guitar.
Oh
And
yeah.
wow, that's him on bass doing that. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. He was amazing.
Do you have a favorite song to sing or play? It can be of yours because you only have two to choose from, or you can you can choose something that you just like to fiddle around with, or maybe something that gets y'all in the mood to practice, or just whatever your answer is. But I'm just curious if you have one that you just love to play or sing.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to play Finding Forever live for the first time. That's one I'm gonna say I'm just stoked, like in general, for when we get to that point. But the song that I like to just kind of always go back to, especially on guitar for like warming up, is Brian Setzer's version of Sleepwalk. So I kind of have like my own version of it, and in previous bands like touring and stuff, like just whenever if something went down, I would just look at the drummer and we break into it, and it's an easy piece. Well, it's not an easy song to play, but I'm just saying like it's an easy like filler kind of song to just throw on live, and everybody kind of knows it once you start playing it. And I've always loved his jazzy mentality, so that's my go-to like default when I'm just like, all right, I need to play something, or if someone would be like, hey, show me something on guitar, I'm playing Brian Setzer's version of Sleepwalk for you. So
On bass, usually it's I mean, our songs, of course, I love playing all of them. But if it's something else by somebody else that I'll mess around with just to kind of warm up a little bit, it's the verse part for Rosetta Stone by Tool because it's pretty easy and it's just a fun little riff to play because it's in different timings. It's I think the first part of it's in 5/4, and then it switches to another. Or no, I don't know. It's in two different. I know it's in two different times. I think the second half is at 5/4, but the first half is like in 6/8 or something. So it's really cool. It's a fun little riff. It's just a walk. It's nothing major or anything, but it basically
so it's
warms.
minor.
No, it could be. No, it is
That's
kind of
a
minor.
joke.
It's not fully a major scale.
That's a joke.
Nerdy nerd, but yeah, that one's fun.
From our songs, for me, it's probably Finding Forever because as far as warming up, it starts very kind of like in my lower register. So it starts to warm up and then you get to the pre-chorus and I get a little higher. So then when we punch into the chorus, I can get up there. But that we have a new song coming out soon. I have to, obviously no one's heard it, but I have to plug that one too. And it's definitely my most challenging to sing, but it is one of my favorites to sing because it's very emotionally charged. I don't know if I have one right now that isn't ours, but usually to warm up my voice because of where it sits most comfortably, whether I'm singing Miley Cyrus or Lady Gaga, because their songs, I can like warm up that like mid-tone, like that happy spot of my voice, but they also belt really well. And I like to belt when I sing. So anything like Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, I will belt those out in the car and it gets my voice nice and ready to rehearse.
So you mentioned a little while ago that you haven't played live yet, and I imagine you're going to want to build a little bit of a catalog before you play live is part of the reason. I'm going to go out on a limb and say. But I know that at least the two of you, I'm not sure, Alyssa, if you've ever played live, because I know that you said that this is kind of new. Do you have a favorite venue that you've played at or somewhere that you really like to sing or anything like that?
For me, no. Yeah, this is my first project. The last time I had sang live was probably in college and it was not at any venue anybody would know. So I don't have any. They've told me a lot about the places they've been to and they all sound awesome. So I'll let them take the stage.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would say any House of Blues that I've ever played at is probably my favorite venues. Just the sound's always great. The rooms are always constructed well. Um, so mainly the one here in Orlando. I love the House of Blues here in Orlando. I love playing festivals and outside, but the I mean I've played a lot, but the problem is that outside festivals between the elements, you're playing your set in the middle of a day where like you're just used to the darkness and the stage, and like a confined kind of like club atmosphere. So it's just totally weird. And all the festivals that I've done, that I love doing them, but I'm just like, it just doesn't feel right. So mine's the House of Blues.
I can imagine too because of the if you're playing a festival, my guess is that you're probably playing earlier in the day than you would really want to be playing too,
Yeah, I mean,
I
unless
don't
you're
want.
closing or headlining.
well, right, and you know, and my history with bands, I mean, not to name drop, but I've done Warped Tour, Earth Day Birthday, Kraken Fest, Welcome Rockville, Louder Than Life,
King Fest.
Kink Fest here in Orlando, which was a big, huge festival with like Mastodon and
Gojira.
Atreyu and yeah, Gojira. So it's like, you know, but all of those festivals, you know, I'm playing at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. And it's just, it's great to be there. And like, I'm so thankful to have those opportunities and to be on those stages. But it's just such a weird feeling because it's like, as soon as you go outside, your guitar strings and the humidity, it's done, you know, like it feels weird. And again, for me, before I go to play, like I like to kind of just go and be isolated. I do my little warm ups. I kind of go over the set in my head. I go over my solos, and like when you're in a club environment, that the show's supposed to be seen with the lights and just that atmosphere. That's what feels right to me. So the festivals are like the exact opposite of it, where it's just yeah, there's a lot of people and it's a great vibe, but it's just as a musician, it's like the exact you know, it's just really uncomfortable to some degree. So
Yeah. For me, it's House of Blues. We've played there several times, and you know, I agree with Ryan. It's the stage, the sound, the atmosphere, the room. It's a lot of fun to be up there uh, in that venue playing, especially with all the names that have come through there and played that stage before us. It's kind of an honor to be one of the many that have done it. But just from that aspect, it's the nicest one in terms of you get a great sound check. If you're going on, you know, if you're going on first, you get a great sound check. The changeovers are quick. Everybody there is super helpful. The staff, all the stage hands are awesome people. They're super nice, and they just help you out. And it's a fun stage to be on because there's so much room. I mean, go wherever. And to what Ryan had said, you can set up your lights, you can set up your stage how you want it, and create your own little, you know, room of your own space of peace and tranquility, so that when you're playing, it's like, yes, this is where I want to be. When we played Welcome to Rockville in 2021, we actually played at I think like 5:15.
yeah, that was nice.
That was awesome.
The sun was setting.
The sun was setting, so for the beginning of the set, it was a little bit light, but then as the set went on, it got dark and the lights were up and everything, and it was great. And it was in November, so it wasn't hot out. It was actually super. I wish to God there was a way they could do Rockville in November every year instead of in May. But because of hurricane season and the insurance that they have to carry, which is odd because we never really have any hurricanes in November anyway. But go figure, you know, it just is what it is. It was just a much nicer time to be at a festival like that because you weren't dying of heat stroke from being out in the Florida sun all day at a racetrack where there's just tarmac and, and asphalt.
Yeah.
There's no shade, and it's just not, you know, it's uncomfortable to be there during that time of year. But yeah, those.
Well, it's come to our favorite time of the episode, and that is promotion time. So tell me, what do you have coming up? I know that you teased a new single a moment ago. You might have some EPs or even some live shows coming up soon. Tell me everything and all that you can.
Yeah, so first and foremost, the video for Satisfied is coming out pretty soon. We did that in house, so we're really excited, and that's gonna be like the next biggest thing. And then we have our third single coming out, which I don't know that we have a date on that yet,
No.
but it's I'm really excited for the third single. I think we all are because what kind of progressively what we wanted to do is a lot of the bands come out and like they're super heavy and they kind of like work their way either backwards or kind of you know in different directions, but we kind of did the opposite intentionally where you know coming out with Finding Forever was like the least heavy song that we have, and then it's Satisfied's a little bit heavier, and then the next song is definitely more like power metal, up tempo, like in your face kind of riffing and solos and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. And then, like I said, we're gonna jump back into the studio, record some more songs, and then we're gonna work on our live show. But I think what we wanted to do for the live show, well, for me personally, I just wanted to put a lot of production into it. I wanted our live show to really reflect the artistic nature and the value of the songs. So to have something to represent, instead of us just going on a stage and playing a local venue here, because the way people are today, everyone's on their phones constantly, and so you kind of have to give them something that not distracting, but at least keeps their attention. So whether we do, obviously we want to incorporate lights, but projection and just kind of everything timed together and work it out from start to finish on the set. So we're going to take a little bit of time, but I'm excited to get back out and play because it's been a minute for me, for sure. So yeah, with all that, and then you never know what comes in between. It's like as a band, being so young, you put your music out there, you're trying to build a narrative and try to build a world online, and then people kind of talk to you and things happen, and then all of a sudden you're doing this and you're doing that. So we're kind of leaving the door open for some wiggle room, so to speak. But the game plan is more music, put it out, get more music recorded, and then start to build that live show so we can get out and play pretty soon.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we were trying to do. We're not in a hurry to get out on stage anytime soon. We want to at least have, from when we were in the dev, we were struggling to put music out. We were putting out one song a year, and we just didn't want to fall back into that kind of pattern. Because if you do something like that, it just kind of makes you irrelevant because you're not staying with your fans. You're not giving your fans anything, to keep them interested, to stick around and see what's next, and to build that anticipation for the next song or the next video or whatever it is. And so we're kind of, and I have friends that keep asking me, like, when are you guys going to play? When are you guys going to play? You guys should get out and play. And it's like, well, we're not there yet. We don't want to just be four people on stage, just playing with nothing else but the music. We want there to be something so that when people do come to see us, when they leave that show, they're impressed. They're like, holy cow, those guys were freaking great. The songs, not only were the songs great and the performance is great, but the stage setup was nice. The lights were cool, the projection, all the little artistic things that we're implementing into the stage show with the production and whatnot. We want them to walk away being like, dang, that's a local, they're not a local band. Because we don't want to be lumped into that. We just don't want to be known as, oh, well, they're just another local band. No, we have higher goals, and we have our sights set on bigger things. So we want to make sure when we come out, it's like, boom, hey, this is us. This is what you're getting. And we hope you enjoy it because we put a lot of effort, time, and energy into it to present it to you.
Yeah, we're all pretty artsy people, so I feel like that's going to reflect in the live show, where again, just kind of give people an experience that they remember, and they're paying their hard-earned money to come see us, so we want to give that back to them.
And I'm curious,
Especially,
Alyssa, you said that you've never played live before. Do you have butterflies about it? Do you have techniques about, because you said that you used to in college. So tell me about your process and where you're at with playing live.
Well, I definitely think it's going to be different, and I do have butterflies for sure because, like I said, I grew up doing musical theater, acting, all of that. I trained for years with that, and so performances, you get to practice a lot. So I anticipate it's going to be very different because we do practice a lot here, but it's within our rehearsal space. Nobody's looking at us. No one's watching. When it's time to perform for fans and other people watching, you don't really get to have like a dress rehearsal.
Time out moment.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting feeling that difference. I am someone who gets extremely nervous with pretty much anything I'm doing. So I don't know what my routine will be, but probably just what I always did, which is I don't end up talking too much. I go over the songs over and over again and just kind of try to stay grounded and channel that like nerves more into excitement, to channel that into the performance. Because like I said, I haven't done performances like this. Also, performing as either in a musical or in a show where you're just singing to a track, it's extremely different because when you're in a musical, like I said, you've performed it a million times, you have your ensemble, you have actors with you, it's a little different versus performing to a track where it's just all on you and you have the music there, it's just going to keep going and you have lyrics or whatever. When you're going on stage performing with other musicians and you're working on this, you're playing the songs that you guys put together in a rehearsal this time, I feel like it's definitely going to be a different experience because I've never performed my own music in a live setting like this. I've performed my own music to tracks, but I didn't have a band before. So I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see. I think I would need to perform live first with them to really be able to know what I need to do prior to performances to help with, getting used to it and, the changes.
Yeah, and performing live, I mean, there's always that learning curve of chemistry where, all the bands that I've ever been in, it takes a few shows to get kind of comfortable with what everybody's doing on stage and kind of, seeing how the set works and, the songs are kind of being brought to a live because we are only like a one guitar player band. But in the studio, I mean, I layer Finding Forever, I think the last chorus has like 4 or 5 guitars going at once, so it's going to be an interesting dynamic to go, okay, how are we going to do this? Are we running some tracks here, there, whatnot? But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, but definitely a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. The good thing is that our rehearsal space is really big and it has a drum riser, which Alyssa's sitting on right now for where the drums are going to be. So when we do start working towards playing live shows, we have the room to move around in here and kind of get a feel for what we're going to do when we're on stage. I mean, obviously, when you're on stage, it's completely different because now you're on stage. And I'm kind of directing that to you because there's only so much you can do here to nobody. It's when you get in front of people, it's like, oh snap, oh shit, there's people here. So, but we'll do as much as we can in here to get ready before we play a live show, and we'll rehearse our asses off and make sure that musically we know exactly what we're doing. We have a awesome PA system in here that I've spent a lot of money on to where we can actually run tracks through it and everybody can hear themselves. Like she doesn't have an issue with hearing her vocals in the studio because we have basically a little mini club PA in here. So it's pretty awesome. But once we get there, we'll get there and we'll put our hard hats on, grab our lunch pails, and go to work.
I want to thank all of you so much for coming on today. We've been talking so long that we're actually almost out of time. The timer's counting down on us, so I want to make sure that I tell you all goodbye, but also thank you so much for joining me and for having such a great night with me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, and great to see you again, brother. Thank you.